Every nonprofit has a mission statement, but not every nonprofit has a good mission statement. A mission statement should succinctly tell the world what you're trying to achieve and specifically for who, without including how you will achieve it or those strategies. So today I'm going to dive into exactly how to write that nonprofit mission statement so that it's focused on not what you do, but the impact that you're trying to make. Because let's face it, that is why you exist and that's what funders care about. Let's talk about it. Welcome to episode 71 of For Purpose Live, where I help you get clear, get focused, and be impactful by showing you how to step fully into that calling that you've been given without taking on that common narrative that nonprofits need to struggle. That's right, together we can get you in your sweet spot using your strengths and your talents to serve this world and build a movement of support for your cause simply by living for purpose, on purpose. I'm Rebecca Britt, your host, and today we are talking about mission statements. Now, before we get started, I have completely reinvented the strategic planning process, and with my impact roadmap, it's a practical plan that says what you do, for who, how will you measure it, and what are all the key activities that are going to get you there. It's simple, it's practical, and you can check it out at forpurposelive.com/impact. Now, if you think that you have an awesome mission statement and you think you're good to go, then hit that like button. So let's first talk about why mission statements matter. And you're going to be like, obviously you need to tell the world like what your mission is. But I'm telling you, a lot of people either get overwhelmed by this, overthink this, or they don't think it enough because their mission statements are like drawn out and they almost always include the strategies, like all the things you do rather than the impact that you're trying to make. Now, I know like through a lot of strategic planning with a lot of organizations, we start with the mission statement, and you don't know how many nonprofits I have that say, we already have our mission. Like we don't need to spend any time. They don't want to pay me to like go over something they've already done. And I always say, totally cool. If you already have a mission statement that works for you, then it'll only take up 5 minutes. You guys can rattle it off. We can all agree on it. We can move on, right? And then we're there an hour and a half later and we're still dissecting the mission statement. And it matters because everything you do, all of your activities, all of your programs need to be for that mission. So if you can't decide on exactly the outcomes that you want to have, literally the reason why your nonprofit exists, then we can't move on. We can't talk about how do we measure impact. We can't talk about what's the best way to achieve it. We can't talk about your programs and your key activities. We don't know what we're trying to achieve. So mission statements that have like creating hope for youth in a supportive environment. Why do we care? Like creating hope, like it's just too flowery and not descriptive enough to make me feel compelled to give or get involved or go like, oh yeah, like I woke up this morning and I really wanted to give hope. I'm not saying hope is a bad word, but when we say like inspiring whatever, inspiring creativity in the youth, that's fine. But I'd like to know, what does hope get them? What does creativity get them? What are the outcomes that I'm getting for my investment in your mission, in your cause? And the reason is you're doing these things. I'm not sitting here saying like, if you're feeling like, Rebecca, hope matters or creativity matters. I agree. But I'm just saying you can claim a lot more impact. You can like claim everything you're doing, claim your outcomes. Okay. So that's why a mission statement matters, because you want to succinctly be able to claim the impact you're having for your community. And you want people to quickly, easily be able to go like, oh dang, okay, I know exactly what they're doing and I would support that. And I know why I'm doing it, who they're doing it for, all of that. Okay. So let's start with your mission statement. How are you going to build this thing? So the first thing you need to make sure that your mission statement includes is your desired result. What's your desired result? What are you trying to achieve? Let's say that you give clothing and you give toiletries and whatever for homeless populations. Let's say you have like a mobile unit and people come to you and like they get a haircut, they get a shower, they get toiletries, they get clothes. Okay? You could say like providing basic necessities for homeless people. You could, but you're doing so much more than that. What are you getting? What are the outcomes when you give someone basic necessities? Well, you may be restoring dignity. You may be creating space for them to not be in survival mode and be able to think about beyond their next meal or beyond their next, clothing or toiletries or shower, right? You're giving them the space, like by meeting those needs, you're giving them the space to think, dream, believe in themselves, right? So really, what's the outcome? Like, what do giving a meal, what does giving your services, what does giving toiletries, what does giving these things get your population? We don't exist to hand people toiletries. No, like we're doing that because we believe that if they had these needs met, then they would be able to ... Or we know by providing these things, it creates a change in the people that makes them feel better about themselves. Maybe they have improved confidence. Maybe they have improved sense of belonging. What? Like, why are we doing it? And what does that belonging get us? Like, keep going into like, why? Ask yourself why 5 times. Get to like, why would we do that? What does it do? And you can get as far out as like, by investing in this family or this child, we are healing generational trauma and helping them have healthier families for themselves. So we are really setting future generations up for success. Okay? Those are the outcomes that funders want to hear about. So what is your desired result? For my program, Stable Moments, we develop life skills. So our immediate desired result is that kids come to our mentorship program and they are matched up with a one-on-one mentor, and through all of their individual plans of care and the activities they do, they are going to develop life skills. Like, that's what we're measuring, okay? And that's one thing you want to think about when you're thinking about a desired result is, can you measure it? So if you're going to say that you develop life skills, then you should probably test what their life skills are coming in and then test their life skills coming out. You can use validated tools. You can come up with your own survey, but you can say, like, did they develop a sense of responsibility? Did they develop self-worth? Did they develop emotional regulation, anger management? Like, whatever the life skill is that you are working on, or the life skills, you want to be able to measure it. If you're saying you're developing life skills, you need to be able to, in your impact report, speak directly to the life skills you said you developed. You don't in your impact report say, hey, we exist to develop life skills. Did you know we served this many kids and this many kids like it here and we got this many mentors and we got to... But what about the life skills? What about the impact you're having, right? So you need to measure the thing that is the prominent thing in your mission statement, your result, okay? So we do developing life skills in foster youth because you do want to call out exactly who you're serving so that people can understand exactly who they're investing in, who are they supporting, okay? And I go a little bit further and I say for healthy transitions into adulthood. That is the really big desired result, right? Now, it's less measurable. I don't have an easy way to follow every kid that goes through our program and understand if they made healthy transitions into adulthood. I would have to track them, and there's a whole bunch of variables that could happen, especially to youth in foster care, that may make them not make a healthy transition into adulthood. What I can do is make the case, because there's enough evidence out there, there's enough literature out there, that if a kid is paired with a healthy adult and they are given that healthy relationship to rely on over time, when the rest of their life is unstable, they have a stable place to go and they have stable moments at our facility, and they can begin to believe that they can trust adults, and they can begin to believe that they matter, and they can develop their self-worth, and they can develop some life skills that throughout the course of their life, they are more apt to make decisions that are healthy, and they are more apt to have healthy transitions into adulthood. Like, it makes sense. I can say that theory out loud and people aren't like, I don't get how that would even help. No, people are like, yeah, we get it. You develop life skills, you invest in the individual, and so that they feel better about themselves, they have a sense of belonging, they have a sense of self-worth, they have some skills to deal with adversity, and they're going to go on and apply those skills to their life in their home, school, community, and go on to have healthier transitions into adulthood. So think about, like, not just the immediate desired result, but also like if, and when I'm going off on visions for a second, but how I think of visions or long-term outcomes is if everybody who could, everyone who qualified took your programs and services. So if I had every single foster youth go through the Stable Moments program and it worked like it's supposed to, like they actually met with their mentor once a week and they had this service through their childhood or youth, what would the outcome be? And I would say that we would end the foster care crisis if every kid that was in foster care had a mentor that cared about them. I mean, think about the community that would build and the understanding and empathy that would build from the community. And if they had supportive community members that were empathetic and showed up for them and showed them that they were valuable and that they mattered and that they were worth making healthy life choices and healthy transitions into adulthood, then they probably wouldn't have kids that go into care. Therefore, we would end our foster care crisis. Okay? Obviously, I'm passionate about that. If you're an executive director, you should be able to deliver your theory of change in the same way that I just did. But it's not difficult to show that vision if you're like, hey, if everyone could do this program, this is how I feel like the society would look. So, what is your desired result? Is your desired result that you are restoring dignity in somebody's life? Yes. Does the way that you do that provide meals to homeless people? Maybe. But also, if you found out, and this is why we don't add strategies into our mission, if you found out that a real way to increase dignity is through this other evidence-based programming, you would want to not just be a soup kitchen or not just provide meals, but you would want to integrate this other dignity promoting program because that's going to help people get dignity more or quicker, have more impact in their lives, right? So it's like, why do you exist? If you exist to provide nourishment, that is great. And that's enough. Like, hello, we need people to eat, right? But providing someone with food, their basic needs, making sure that they are not out there trying to survive to eat, it has a lot bigger outcomes than the general public may know. So it's like, okay, so you feed people. Well, when people have a meal that they can rely on, then it allows them to free up a lot of their day where they can start thinking about possibly applying for jobs or looking for housing or whatever that frees people up to do. Okay. So what's your desired result? Are we restoring dignity? Are we, how are we changing lives? Are we developing life skills? Okay. I do not add into my mission statement that we do it through mentorship. What I don't say is we match kids up one-on-one, providing one-on-one mentorship. Nobody cares. I don't care if you provide one-on-one mentorship because I don't know what that mentorship gets me. I don't know if it's good mentorship. Now, if you say developing life skills, now I can't argue that developing life skills is good. And I'm waiting for you to prove that you do that. But you could prove all day long that you offer mentorship because anybody can throw a mentor with a person and say that they're offering mentorship. But we've all seen, I don't know if you have, but I've seen a lot of poorly structured mentorship programs where they pick a kid up and they go to McDonald's and they are doing it to more say like, hey, I'm a realtor in the area and I offer mentorship to kids, but I really just sit there on my phone while the kid eats McDonald's. A lot different than one that's going to be structured and going to say, hey, we test kids before and after, and it's not mentorship that we offer. That's one way in which we develop life skills, but we develop life skills. And that's the thing that's really important. And if this program decides that there's another way to incorporate into our mission that can develop life skills in addition to mentorship, then we don't need to change our whole mission because the mission was all based on one strategy, okay? So what is your desired result? Make sure it is measurable. Now, if you are saying that you are developing a sense of belonging, if you are saying that you are rehoming animals, then you want to just make sure those things are measurable. And you can totally measure a sense of belonging. You can measure confidence. You can measure, obviously, rehoming is easy. That's something, how many animals did you rehome? But you really want a how well did you do that and how much better off? So again, rehoming isn't saying much because you could just find a shack for these animals and they could be in an abusive situation, but technically you rehomed them. No, if you are allowing animals to have dignity and purpose in the last years of their lives, then say that. One of the ways in which you do that is finding them permanent homes. That's a strategy. But what you're tracking is not just the number of rehomes, you're tracking the quality of the home. So what do you deem as a quality home? And you're going to articulate that, not in your mission, but you're going to be able to talk about that. You're going to be able to maybe follow up with these animals or follow up with people that have found independent living and see, are they still doing well? Do they still have these good feelings about themselves? Really being able to say how well and is anybody better off, not just number of things you did, but outcomes. And you can say, like, I was just strategic planning with somebody and they said safety was really important to them, that they provided people that were homeless with a safe environment. And I said, cool, like, what does safe mean? We all have different ideas of what safe means. And if we are sitting and we're privileged on a board, then we can say, oh, well, safe means, nobody is coming up to our car window and knocking on it. We're not getting things stolen from us. We're not in an area where there's gunshots going off. Okay, that could be one thing. But you could interview all of your participants and say, what does safety mean to you? Or on the intake, just have them write an open answer of what does safety mean to you? And you might find that they are farther away from their domestic violence partner. You may find that the fact that they have food security means that they feel safe. They can feed their kids. That's the ultimate safety for them. You may find that simply not worried about if the weather's going to get bad is safety for them. So having an idea of what the words that you put in your mission mean to your population, and it's like, oh, that's why we are providing that. And you are the ultimate advocate for the people in your mission. So you want to be able to articulate that, okay? What is your desired result? Make sure it's measurable. And you can measure things like belonging and safety and all of that through how your community defines it and then asking, did we provide that for you? Okay? Great. You also need to articulate for who. So it shouldn't just be like for people, unless it is just for people. But we want to get really exclusive with our mission statement. Exclusivity helps people have a sense of belonging, right? And I always use the example, like if I'm an addict and I go to an AA meeting or I go to an NA meeting, I honestly don't want to sit there with a bunch of people that like are trying to understand addiction because they have a friend that's addicted and them sharing their stories. Like, I'm sorry. I want to know that I can come to this meeting and it's a whole bunch of people that totally get that what it is to lose yourself completely to a substance, okay? I don't want to sit there trying to help people understand the experience of me, and I probably wouldn't continue to go to that meeting if it's just a bunch of people that are like, yeah, like I smoked pot once. Okay, sorry, like go to that meeting, okay? So exclusivity helps your members feel like they belong, and it also helps donors and supporters understand who are we serving. So this is a desired result for who? Foster youth. Is it black women in Baltimore? Black entrepreneurs in Baltimore. Get super specific, right? Who are you serving? And then later on, it sets you up for like, why are we focused on foster youth? Why is it important to help these kids? And you get to build off that, okay? So that matters. And you know what? The biggest question I get from people starting my Stable Moments program is, Rebecca, can we use this program on other populations? Can we use this program on kids that aren't in foster care? We think it's great and we could apply it to people with divorced parents and incarcerated parents. And I say, no, I've developed this program for kids with developmental trauma, and it would just not be a service to those kids or other kids to apply all of the nuance, uniqueness that I've built specifically for this population to everyone can benefit from it. They might be able to benefit, but I stay very focused so that it doesn't start to get murky and confusing for everyone. Okay? I want to talk about for a moment Arc of Fayette County. They are a nonprofit there, and here's the example. Okay? So their mission statement is allowing members of our community with different abilities and their families to embrace and optimize the human experience. I love this mission statement, okay? Because they specifically call out who? Members of our community with different abilities. Very specific. They are called the Arc of Fayette County. So we understand that I'm going to assume members of our community is members of Fayette County with different abilities, okay? So now we know, very specific. They could be, from this, I'm understanding that they could be youth, they could be adults. They need to have different abilities to be accepted in, and they need to be members of the community. So what's good about this is also a criteria for inclusion. Who is able to get our services? These are the people that can get our services, very specifically. So it also might be criteria for exclusion. Oh, you're of a different county. Let us refer you over there. You're not a member of our community. This is who we serve. Oh, you don't have different abilities. That's not who we serve. Okay. They also have and their families. So I would actually probably remove and their families just because it's a lot. And the reason, and I'm guessing here, like the Arc of Fayette County can comment below and they can say, no, we very specifically include their families for these reasons. And I love that. But I would imagine they do serve the family. I'm sure they value a holistic view. I'm sure that because these are members with different abilities, that they probably need the assistance of their families. So they need the buy-in of families. And that's why they included the families in the mission statement. I would say you don't need them because really the families is a strategy. To serve members of your community with different abilities, you need to include the family. But the only reason you're including the family is to be able to better serve the members of your community with different abilities. So it's like ultimately you're serving them. Yes, do you need to bring in like other people, siblings, parents? Yeah, you do to be able to serve them, but ultimately you're serving members of your community with different abilities. So I would personally say that you don't need in their families because that's just one way in which you serve them is by including their families, but either way. Okay, to embrace and optimize the human experience. Hello, I love this. Okay, so the desired result that they have for people in their community with different abilities is that after they come and they utilize this program's services, these people are able to embrace and optimize their human experience. Hello, I love this. I love this so much. So how do we, first of all, we want this for everyone in the world, right? Like everybody can agree that if they were able to embrace and optimize their human experience, like that's the whole reason, that's what we should all be striving for. Okay, so I love this, and I don't think anybody's going to argue like, oh, come on, why is it important to embrace and optimize the human experience? I mean, I think people get that that's pretty important. And particularly with people with different abilities. There might be things that it's like, it may be difficult to embrace the human experience when the human experience has been set up as more difficult. If there's a disability there, if there's a different ability there, and you're trying to live in a world that was created for able-bodied people, it may be very hard to even want to embrace the human experience, to say, you know what, I'm going to show up. I'm going to embrace that this is my life. These are my abilities, and I'm going to embrace that. So I get that that's why that would be your first step, is to get people to embrace their human experience, even though they have, or regardless of, or in spite of their different abilities, right? And now that you've embraced it, we need to optimize it, right? So we need to like, how can we make this world and this human experience work best for you with your individual needs? Okay, because you have different abilities. Well, let's make it work for you. And let's find what works for you. Okay, so I'm getting all of that from this one yummy mission statement. So now you go, how do I measure that, Rebecca? And I say, okay, So we need to define, what does embrace mean? I have some ideas about it. I'm sure the board has some ideas about it. And I'm sure the population has some ideas about it. So if you can ask people with different abilities, what is the difference between embracing and not embracing? Okay, and they might have stories, and you may have stories of when someone came here, they didn't even want to try X, Y, and Z. They didn't believe they could do this, get a job, whatever. But through these activities and this programming, we help them understand what they can do, and that helped them embrace their experience. Okay. So however you're going to articulate embracing the experience, you can show that, you can prove that you've done that by the stories that you have. You can also do that in a quantitative way by asking people, the number of people you served, were you able to more fully embrace your life or your human experience since coming to Arc of Fayette County? And if they say yes, that's one. And now you can say 90% of people that come to us say that they were able to better embrace their human experience by coming to us. Okay. So there we go. There's our yummy numbers, and we're proving it. And it's like, okay, if the people that are coming here with different abilities are better able to embrace their human experience, then I'm going to invest in that. Okay, and then you can have the exact same thing on optimize. What does optimization look to you? In optimization, to me, my opinion on that is potential. Like you feel like you are in your sweet spot and living to your potential of whatever your human experience is. So you can track that over time. Somebody can come to you and be like, you can say, do you feel like you are optimizing your human experience? Do you feel like you're living to your potential? And they can say yes or no. You can say, has your ideas about your potential or optimization, has it grown since you've been here? Yes or no? There's our numbers. What percent has actually improved their idea of their potential? And then what percentage or how many people with different abilities in our community, after a year in our program, say that they feel like they have better optimized their life, better optimized their human experience. And you can say that. The reason why I love these words, embrace and optimize, they sound so meaty. It's like, okay, that could mean a lot of things to a lot of people. And yes, do you need to be clear and articulate? You do. But I feel like these words were chosen intentionally. And now it's on the executive director and community members and board members, volunteers, people to understand, what do we mean by embrace? What do we mean by optimize? Well, let me tell you what we mean by embrace. Let me give you some case studies. Let me give you some stories. Let me tell you about how some people weren't able to embrace and now they are embracing, and how some people were maybe living and embracing, but they weren't optimizing. And now because of our services, they were optimizing. Now, when the Arc of Fayette County goes to build their strategic plan, they're going to have some focus areas on what works. What is the best way to help people with different abilities embrace their human experience, and what are the best ways we can help them optimize? And that is where they're going to build their programming in their focus areas. That's where they're going to build their key performance indicators for how well are we doing this? How good are we doing this? How well? How much? Is anybody better off because we're doing this? Okay? Everything in their mission, all of their programs, their focus is going to be on helping people embrace and optimize the human experience. So that's when we're talking about, should we do this? Should we do that? Should we take on this programming? This grant says this. The question should always be, I don't know. Do we think that it helps people in the best way, most effectively embrace and optimize their human experience? Yes or no? Yes? All right, let's add it. And we should be able to back that up and say that everything's mission driven. This is why our missions matter, because missions should be everything we do, our key activities, our focus, everything we do every day should just be to achieve the mission. It's literally why we exist. Okay. So that's why we need a really good, meaty mission statement. I love this one from the Arc of Fayette County. If you would like to be featured in a future episode, make sure you hit subscribe and then put your nonprofit organization in the comments so that we can check you out. Okay. If you think that your mission could use a little tune up and you would like to have a session with your board about like, let's apply some of this, then make sure you hit like or even share this video with your board of directors. Remember, you want a desired result for who in your mission statement. Don't add any strategies, and usually these strategies are found in a mission statement after like the by or the through. You don't need that. The strategies may change. You just need a desired result for who. Think about your outcomes. Think about your impact. Don't forget to check out my strategic planning completely reinvented, the impact roadmap at forpurposelive.com/impact. And thank you so much for your service to this world. Until next time.